4 years, I had no idea who was secretly paying my tuition. Until graduation day, when a stranger walked up, handed me a photo of my mother, and revealed a truth that shattered everything I thought I knew. Stay with me. This story will move your heart, stir your soul, and leave you believing in the power of silent sacrifice and second chances. Before we begin this powerful story, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you never miss our inspiring, life-changing content. Like, share, and support our channel, Twisting Tales, where every story is more than just entertainment. Each one carries a heartfelt message, a moral lesson, and a spark of hope to uplift your soul. Every year, a stranger paid my tuition. Graduation day, I met him face to face. My earliest memory of school was not a classroom. It was my mother, scrubbing floors in a stranger's home. Fingers cracked, knees swollen, face glowing with pride. Because I had a book in my hand. We were dirt poor. No father. Just me, my mother, and 100 unpaid bills. But my mother used to say, "God gives wings to those who dare to walk through fire barefoot." She refused to let poverty dictate who I would become. She worked double shifts. Went to sleep hungry. Sold her wedding bangles to buy my school uniform. I studied by candlelight. Tutored younger kids to help with groceries. And when I got my admission into one of the top universities in the country, I cried. Not because I got in, but because I knew I could never afford to go. That night, I sat in our tiny kitchen, clutching the acceptance letter with trembling hands. I could hear my mother crying quietly in the next room. It broke me. The next morning, she had something in her hand, a letter. It was from the university. Someone had paid for my full tuition. Every single year. No name. No details. Just one line at the bottom. Believe in yourself. The world needs your light. I stared at it in disbelief. My heart raced. I looked at my mother. She smiled with wet eyes. "You are not alone, my son," she whispered. "Someone believes in your future." And so began my journey. I promised myself I would not waste this chance. I worked like a man on fire. 5 hours of sleep. Days in the lab. Nights delivering food. I read everything. Learned business. Economics. Philosophy. I wanted to build something real. Something that would make the stranger proud. But it was not easy. In my second year, my mother fell ill. Stage 3 cancer. The fire in me turned into ashes. I missed classes. Almost failed a semester. And then, I met her. Arushi. She was in my economics class. Soft voice. Fierce mind. She saw past the fake smiles I wore every day. One evening, she followed me outside the hospital. Saw me sitting alone in the corridor, crying into my hands. She did not say anything. She just sat next to me. And stayed. From that day, she became my anchor. She helped with my notes. Made soup for my mother. Held me when I could not hold myself. I once asked her why she did it. She said, "Because someone believed in me when I had nothing. Now it is my turn." Love grew not through words, but through shared silence. Through the pain we held between us. My mother died during my final year. She never saw me graduate. But she left a letter on my pillow the night before she passed. "My son, I will not be there to clap for you. But know this. I have already seen the man you are becoming. And he is more than I ever dreamed." I held that letter every night until graduation. And then, the day came. Cap and gown. Crowds cheering. Cameras flashing. But my eyes searched the crowd for one person. The stranger. The one who paid for it all. The one who carried me without ever showing his face. And then, after the ceremony, as the crowds began to thin, I turned around. He was standing there. Gray suit. Calm eyes. A face I had never seen. But somehow familiar. He walked up to me and smiled. "You made it," he said. I could barely speak. My hands trembled as I asked, "Who are you?" He reached into his coat pocket. Pulled out a photograph. It was my mother. Younger. Laughing. Standing next to him. She saved my life, he said quietly. Many years ago, when I had nothing. And then, with tears in his eyes, he said, I promised her I would do the same for you. I stood frozen. The world around me dimmed. Only his words echoed in my mind. She saved my life. I promised her. I looked down at the photo again. My mother was beaming. Young, radiant, full of the same fire she carried till her last breath. How did she save you? I asked, my voice breaking. He looked away for a moment, drawing in a deep breath. Then slowly he spoke. 25 years ago, I was a construction worker. Lost my job. Addicted. On the verge of ending it all. I could hardly imagine it, this composed man in front of me, once broken. I collapsed in a rain-soaked alley. No one stopped. Except one woman. He paused. She gave me shelter. Bandaged my wounds. Fed me with food she could barely afford. And scolded me like I was her own brother. He chuckled softly, eyes glistening. She made me believe I still had worth. Told me to stop running from my pain. And start building something with it. He looked at me again, and this time, it was as if I could feel my mother's presence in his gaze. Her name was Nausea, he said. And when I asked how I could repay her, she smiled and said, Do not repay me. One day, help someone who needs it more. His voice cracked. Years passed. I built a company. Became a man people once said I would never be. And then, one day I saw a scholarship application. It had your name. And hers. Tears spilled down my face. I could not breathe. My knees gave in, and I sat on the grass, clutching the photo to my chest. She never told me, I whispered. He knelt beside me. She never wanted you to feel owed. She wanted you to rise. With your own strength. Arushi stood nearby, silently watching. She came forward and placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. The stranger, no, my guardian, reached out. I am not here for thanks. I am here because your journey is just beginning. And because I want to offer you something. I looked up at him, broken and whole at once. He smiled. Come work with me. Let us build something bigger than both of us. Let us change lives, like your mother changed mine. My heart pounded. Dreams I never dared to speak, suddenly within reach. But all I could think of was her. My mother. The woman who raised a billionaire with her bare hands, and never asked for anything in return. And somewhere deep in my soul, I heard her voice. Walk forward, my son. The world needs your light. I stood slowly. My hands still trembling. My heart still drowning in emotion. But my eyes, finally clear. Arushi stepped closer, her fingers gently lacing with mine. Her warmth steadied me. Grounded me. Reminded me I was no longer alone. I looked at him, this man who had changed the course of my life. Silently, selflessly. I will come, I said. But not just to work. I want to learn. To serve. To give back what was once given to me. He smiled wide and proud, like a father watching his son take his first step. I expected nothing less. That night, I went back to our old apartment. The one my mother had spent her whole life in. The peeling paint. The creaky fan. The rusted gas stove, all still there. It smelled of turmeric and old memories. I sat on the floor, knees to my chest, and opened her letter again. My son, the world will try to tell you who you are. But never forget, you are made of love, not labels. Of grit, not gold. You are my legacy. And your kindness is your wealth. I wept until dawn. And when the first light touched the window pane, I made a vow. I would build an empire. But not one made of marble and glass. One built from compassion. A home for the broken. A bridge for the lost. A hand for those still drowning in the same dark I once knew. In the months that followed, everything changed. I moved into a small apartment near the company headquarters. Started from the bottom, assistant to the strategy team. Every morning, I walked through those glass doors not as a billionaire in training, but as a student of life. The stranger, now my mentor, never treated me like a beneficiary. He was strict, demanding. He pushed me until I broke, and then taught me how to rebuild.
And Arushi? She stayed.
Late-night dinners turned into early morning strategy sessions. She knew the business world better than anyone I had met. But more than that, she knew me. She saw every flaw, every fear, and loved me deeper because of them. One evening, we sat on the office rooftop. The city lights pulsed below us, a heartbeat of dreams. I turned to her and asked quietly, "Do you ever wonder, what would have happened if I never got that scholarship?" She smiled, rested her head on my shoulder, and said, "You would have made it anyway. Because real light cannot stay hidden forever." And for the first time in years, I believed her. Her words wrapped around me like a blanket. Real light cannot stay hidden forever. I let that settle into my soul. For so long, I had lived with this quiet fear. That without someone else's help, I might have faded. That I was a product of charity, not choice. But she saw through it all. She believed in the fire within me. Not the one sparked by someone else's kindness, but the one kept alive by my own refusal to give up. That night, I held her hand tighter, and silently promised, no matter how high I climbed, I would never forget where I started. Weeks turned into months. I began managing small projects, learning how to negotiate, fail, stand back up. And the stranger, my mentor, Mr. Kareem. He watched every step. He never praised too quickly, never handed out approval like candy. Instead, one day, he called me into his office. A massive corner room with glass walls and the quiet hum of power. I stood there, unsure. Was I in trouble? Had I messed up? He slid a folder across the desk. "Read it," he said. Inside was a proposal. A new division. Focused on social entrepreneurship. Empowering underprivileged youth with education, funding, and mentorship. At the bottom, in neat letters, my name was printed as the director. I looked up, stunned. "You built yourself," he said. "Now build for others." I could not speak. He leaned back in his chair, eyes softer than I had ever seen. "You know why your mother saved me? Because she believed broken people still had value. She saw something in me that no one else did. And I see it in you." I clutched the folder to my chest. "Thank you," I whispered. "No," he replied, "thank her." Later that night, I found myself back on that hospital bench. The one where Arushi had first found me. It was worn, paint peeling, quiet under the dim yellow lights. But it was sacred to me. I sat down alone, letting the silence breathe. A young man walked by. Thin. Nervous. Carrying a folder just like mine once looked. Our eyes met for a moment. And I saw something in him. Something I recognized. That desperate hope. That silent scream. "Will someone believe in me?" He looked away quickly, disappearing into the building. But I stayed frozen. Something inside me shifted. That was the moment I knew I would find him again. And when I did, I would hand him the same gift that saved me. The belief that even forgotten people can change the world. The next morning, I asked for his name at the hospital front desk. The nurse glanced through the logs. Her finger paused. Adil. 18. Brings his mother here every week for dialysis. Quiet kid. Top of his class. That was all I needed to know. I visited again the following Friday. This time, I waited. Same bench. Same lights. And there he was. Thin frame. Second-hand shoes. Tired eyes that still carried the weight of a dream too big for his world. I stood up. "Adil?" I asked gently. He froze. Hesitated. Then nodded slowly. I reached into my coat. Handed him a sealed envelope. No catch. No conditions. Just, open it when you are ready. And I walked away. I did not turn back. Because I knew that look. The confusion. The trembling hands. The disbelief that maybe, just maybe, his life was about to change. I had lived it. Back at the office, I found Arushi waiting in the boardroom. She was reviewing the initial plans for our new initiative. She looked up with a quiet smile. How did it go? I sat beside her. Not as the director. Not as a future billionaire.
But as a son. A student.
A vessel of everything my mother poured into me. I think, I said slowly, I just met the beginning of someone else's story. She reached over and gently squeezed my hand. You are becoming the man she always saw in you.
I swallowed hard. Nodded.
That night, I dreamed of my mother. She was hanging clothes under the sun.
Humming to herself.
She looked up at me, proud and peaceful. And then, she simply said, Now you are the stranger, my son. The one who makes the path easier. The one who believes before the world does. I woke with tears in my eyes. The city outside was waking up. Cars honking, birds fluttering, light spilling across glass towers. A world she never got to live in. But one she helped shape through me. I stood at the window, feeling the weight of both grief and purpose. And I whispered to the morning. I will keep going. I will carry your light.
Just then, my phone buzzed.
A message from an unknown number. I opened the envelope. I do not know who you are. But today, you changed everything. Thank you. And with that, the cycle continued. Because sometimes, a stranger's belief is all it takes to turn a buried spark into a blazing fire. I read the message again. Every word sank deep into my chest. I saw myself in Adil's shaky gratitude. The same disbelief. The same awe. But more than that, I saw the ripple. The beginning of something bigger than either of us. I saved his number. Not to check on him. Not to monitor or control. But to remind myself, every time I doubted, that this is what legacy looks like. It is not just money. It is not headlines or awards. It is one soul lighting another. Later that week, I visited the community center we had quietly funded. Walls were half-painted. Volunteers bustling. Children laughing in the background. And in one of the back rooms, I saw Arushi kneeling beside a whiteboard, teaching financial literacy to a group of young women. She looked up and waved. That same steady smile. A lighthouse in every storm of my life. I watched her from the doorway. How she poured herself into others. How she gave without ever seeking applause. When the session ended, she walked over and looped her arm through mine. Your face looks different, she said, teasing. How so? Lighter. Like a man who has stopped running from his past. I looked at her. I think I am starting to walk toward the future instead. We stood there for a long while, surrounded by peeling paint and growing hope. The next few months blurred. I visited universities, held anonymous scholarship interviews, met teens who had nothing but hunger and hope. Each time, I saw my old self staring back. And each time, I left a silent gift behind. One evening, as I prepared a speech for an upcoming youth summit, I opened the last box of my mother's belongings. Inside was a torn diary. Her handwriting, delicate and faded with time. I flipped through the pages. Recipes. Doodles. Prayers scribbled between grocery lists. And then, one page stopped me cold. If I die before he becomes a man, let someone remind him. He is already enough. He always was. My throat tightened. I leaned back in my chair, clutching that page as if it were her hands. That night, I stood on the rooftop. City lights like stars scattered below. I looked out and whispered into the wind. Amy, your boy is still here. But he is not lost anymore. He is building. Just like you dreamed. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Adil. Sir, I got accepted. Full ride. Top 5 in the country. I still do not know why you chose me. But I promise. I will make it matter. I closed my eyes. And smiled. Because I knew. He already had.